Welcome to episode 216, Creating Systems, Finding Talent, and Delegating Tasks with Brian Donovan. Welcome to the Be That 1% podcast. I'm your host, James Silvis, mindset specialist and performance coach. And here on the show, I'm going to challenge you to think deeper, commit to greatness, and develop a stronger mindset. You'll hear stories from those who are living life on their terms, and you'll receive strategies that will help you level up. So the question is, are you ready to be your own 1%? Let's get started. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Be That 1% podcast. Today, I am joined by a former family member of the Warrior Retreats tribe. I had the honor of meeting our guest, Brian Donovan, a couple of years ago when we both attended the Warrior Retreats back in Peru. And it was an awesome time, like getting to connect with Brian before we went to Peru and really seeing who he is, how he thinks, what he values was really helpful in helping our friendship grow across the 2-week span that we were down there. And then while we were in Peru, we had some awesome laughs, some great conversations, just some great perspective shifts on just what we wanted to achieve in our life, what we stand for, and the impact that we wanted to make. And one of the things that I love about Brian and his mind is he thinks systematically. He's looking at kind of the 30,000 foot view and also the 3-foot view. And he has a really good ability to be able to contrast between those two. He is the founder of virtualassistants.io, which has 50 employees and growing. He is a partner and leader at Create Leaders. And he specializes in how to really build teams and scale them. So Brian, without further ado, man, welcome to the show. I'm excited to have a conversation with you, man.
James, pleasure to be here. It's an honor, brother. Thinking back to Peru and Warrior, I mean, absolutely epic time, getting to dive in and see all sides of each other. You know, I like to think, you can see someone in a blink of an eye, but it takes usually like a year or a deep experience like that to actually get to know somebody. Yeah. And like, I saw your heart on that trip and you're a freaking powerful leader. I'm grateful to be here, man. I'm ready to dive in.
Let's go. All right, so let's do a rapid fire series questions here real quick. So I'm just going to throw them out there as fast as you can. Just respond, and then we'll jump into the meat of our podcast today. So first question, where were you born and raised?
I was born in Ramsey, New Jersey.
Okay.
Like in 1995.
Hey, what is a philosophy that you live by?
Philosophy that I live by is, I think systems are literally everything. Like I really genuinely do. It's like perfectly in line.
Hence why you're on the show.
Yeah.
All right. What is your definition of failure?
My definition of failure is that it's feedback. It's feedback. I think that it's a learning lesson. Yeah. I've failed multiple times in my life, businesses, relationships, habits. And every single time I think that I grow stronger because of it.
What do you want to see more of in the world?
I definitely want to see more love, more connection, more commitments, more consistency, better communication, genuinely like better feedback, being able to say to people like, hey, James, you got shit in your teeth, like kind of like helping you spot your blind spots. Like, I think I want to see more people having each other's backs in the world.
I love that. What's a game-changing book that you've read recently or in the past?
12-week year. Get more done in 12 weeks than 12 weeks than others do in 12 months by Brian P. Moran.
Okay. Adding to the list. What is a solid piece of advice that you have received recently or in the past that has served you well?
A solid piece of advice that I've received recently was, I just got out of a leadership training myself. And so I've received various different pieces of advice, particularly how I was disconnected, mainly in my head instead of my heart. Right. And so the piece of advice that I got was, hey, drop in more, be more present, being more attuned to actually having the conversation and connecting with that person rather than trying to get something out of it or trying to just complete it or trying to move past it, like genuinely moving into my heart and being more present. And that really, comes from me taking time to fill up my cup and know that I'm supported and other people are more than capable of supporting me and filling up my cup and that I don't have to do it all myself.
Love that. And last question, what is one thing, I mean, there's several, so this is a loaded question, but as quickly as you can, what's one thing that you had to give up or sacrifice in order to get to where you are today?
I had to sacrifice going out, doing the college experience. I didn't do any of the college experience. I had to sacrifice weekends, nights. I had to sacrifice a ton of time to read tons and tons of books. I had to sacrifice and risk relationships. I had to risk, what I thought I had to risk was health, but that definitely was the wrong decision. But I never got super unhealthy, but like I never prioritized it like I'm prioritizing it today.
Yeah.
And now I'm realizing that actually, like, focusing on my mind, my body, and my spirit actually gives me the power to produce in business and in life.
Yeah.
And so, I've had to risk it in every area, risk failure, risk being embarrassed, risk rejection, risk fears. I had to risk getting out of my own flipping way and not listen to this voice inside of my head. I had to risk going broke. I had to risk everything, every day.
Thank you, brother. Stop. I appreciate you, man. So, catch the listeners up on how you got to where you are in a succinct way, and then we'll jump into the topics for today.
Yeah, in a succinct way would be, I started working at 12 years old, washing dishes in a pizzeria. I started working at 12 years old because my father went bankrupt after I watched him build an incredibly lucrative company. I watched bankruptcy papers come on his desk, and I watched him get kind of sad and depressed. And that impacted me a lot at 12 years old. And I learned that I needed to go to work. So I went and washed dishes. I worked at a golf and country club. Then I worked at a snow mountain. I had 3 jobs, all every season of the year. That then transitioned into network marketing, where I learned very quickly that the people that were above me, in their young 20s, read books and had mentors. So what did I do? I read everything by Robert Kiyosaki, Jim Rohn, Bob Proctor, Tony Robbins, all the greats, right? Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People, dove into the personal development, went on this journey of reading a ton of mindset books and working on myself. Tried and started and failed network marketing multiple times over the course of 3 or 4 years. That led me into starting an agency where I started that in school, dropped out of school, and formed a small team of like 6 other college dropouts trying to build a digital marketing agency. Because my why at the end of the day, when I wrote this down years ago, it was to love and lead young entrepreneurs to inner and outer freedom. Meaning like inner freedom, being free from your false beliefs and your fears, holding you back from creating the reality that you want, the financial abundance, the love, the creative expression, right? And so I made it my mission to learn everything that I could, because people close to me, aka my dad, I didn't want to have that feeling of not being able to be financial abundance, love, or creative expression. I've done a lot of work and healing work to heal different parts of myself as I've had to go through that journey. And I went and took my agency, and I actually went and some of you may know him, Gerard Adams. I went and pitched him to help him with his business. And he basically said, don't really worry about the agency. Come and work for this business called Founders, which was an accelerator where we were investing in companies for a percentage of equity. One of the cool companies that came out of that is fidget spinners, right? We invested a $10,000 in investment. Fidget spinners, that was the marketing money that made fidget spinners go viral a couple of years ago. But the agency got shut down. I got acqui-hired into an accelerator where we were building real estate. We were investing in companies. We had an art gallery, the whole shebang. Eric Thomas came and visited. Tom Bilyeu came and visited. Peter Voogd came and visited, Daniel DiPiazza, like, and we had events. It was all different types of incredible entrepreneurs that were teaching inside of our accelerator. So this is where I got my accelerated education on how to build companies. Was I'm surrounded by all these incredible entrepreneurs, and I'm reading every single day. And there's like 70 mentors that are coming in a 90-day time period. Literally, we had a new mentor every single day in a 90-day accelerator. It was unbelievable. And so I'm learning from all these different incredible people. And that helped me get a good footing and a good foundation of how to find your avatar, create an offer, create systems, work with people. I mean, I have some really funny stories about that incredible business for another time. That then evolved to an online education platform, which then evolved into spotting another need of training talent, which is leading basically to what I do now for clients and my own other businesses. Is I train talent, I train teams, and I pair them with coaches, consultants, and agencies. In particular, we have a few other spin-offs and avatars that work with us. But I found a huge passion of being able to have great people, a great strategy, and great operations. I think those three things are crucial to execution, because I think that most businesses aren't they don't fail because they have a bad plan. They fail because they can't actually execute that plan and that strategy. They can't bridge the gap from the vision to actually executing reality. I think most people and most businesses are actually very bad at identifying the reality of their lives. We see it all the time, right, James? Like, people are avoiding reality and escaping. And I think a lot of people don't actually understand the reality of their business themselves. And so I find great fun and passion and play and being an artist and figuring out how does this person over here, how does this operations business manager, set the goals of the company and get everybody rowing in the right direction. How does the COO know what every KPI is in the business and make sure every person in the company has a number assigned to them, right? These are the systems. Like, these are the systems in the business that light me up. And I think far too many leaders sit back and, James, it's like, you think about Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick doesn't delegate coaching to an assistant, right? He's not in his office all day doing deals and delegating the coaching. I see far too many businesses delegating their business without actually understanding it, like to the core processes, the core people, the core priorities. And like, that's what I always look at in a business, is those three P's, right? Processes, people, priorities are literally the three things that when I come in, I'm like, what are the processes? Who are the people running the processes? What priorities do we have in place? And the coach, or the leader, needs to get in the business and execute alongside the team, because I failed multiple times at delegating over the years because I didn't know what I was even delegating. It's very, very, very bad or it's not effective to delegate what you don't know. Because I mean, you'll get lost. You're just
hoping that the other person knows what they're doing, but there's no way for you to understand if they do.
Right, exactly. And then you get into this whole micromanaging thing. And then I'm dealing with entrepreneurs that are very stressed because they're micromanaging something that they don't even know how to do themselves. So how are they supposed to delegate something? And that is such a micromanagement comes out of this stress and this distrust of, one, not knowing how it works or who's supposed to do it or when it's even due. And that's simply what a system is who's doing it, when is it due by, how is it done, what is it, why are we doing it in the first place? We learned this in third grade. It's the 4 W's and an H, right? Who, what, when, where, why, how, right? Those are basically the elements of creating a system. I think systems are like habits. And it's, for example, what are the habits you're doing in your business? Are you checking your email every day? That could become a system that can be delegated. Are you onboarding clients every single day? That's a system that could become delegated, that you can have reporting on, that you can have other people run. Are you doing enrollment calls? Are you building your tribe on social media? All of these things can be laid out in a set of steps where it can be, hey, step 1 is XYZ, step 2 is ABC, step 3 is 1, 2, 3, right? And those become what we call standard operating procedures, SOPs, right? And when you have enough SOPs, because if you take client onboarding or client experience, for example, there's several SOPs inside of that one system.
Right.
And so, man,
yeah, that's really good. I love that you're going into that, because that's something that I wanted to ask you about is systems, and particularly, like, you kind of outlined beautifully how you create them. It's really just observing what it is that you do in your business and stepifying it so that you know how to go about it and get similar results or the exact result every time you go through that system. And then another thing that you said was, I like that, was I think we have this grand vision of how nice it would be to not be in the business. And so we kind of just go to being out of the business too fast without understanding, like you said, what the business is. And so in my mind, I was like, get in so you can get out.
Yes.
Right? Like really understanding that. And then with systems, I'm sure, comes the delegation piece. And like you outlined beautifully, like you can't delegate if you don't know what it is that you're delegating. So I love all of that. On the system piece, what have you noticed in your business? Because you have many different moving parts, from this company to that company to the different industries. Talk to me a little bit about your personal systems that you've seen the highest ROI on, and where maybe most people professionally drop the ball with systems, and what you've seen to be the most effective systems in a business. Just be generally speaking. If you want to go specific, totally can.
Yeah. So if you're listening, when you're listening, if you have a piece of paper or you have a notepad, this is basically the process that I take myself through. You can think of it as a current state versus future state analysis, right? In life, I'm always trying to identify the gap and close the gap, right? So whether it's in health, where am I at now? Where do I want to be? What are my steps to get there? And in business, it's the same thing. And so I think of business in basically 5 divisions. And so if you have a piece of paper, I'd write down operations, product and delivery, finance, marketing, and sales. And I would write down those 5 divisions: operations, product, sales, marketing, finance. And then I would basically write right next to it, think of it as 3 columns: current state, and then another column, future state. So what's the current state of your product and delivery? An example would be, I'm manually onboarding clients. I'm manually sending contracts. I'm manually sending the welcome email, right? I'm manually doing check-ins, right? Those are things that I would put inside of product and delivery. And then in the future state, I would say, I want contracts automatically sent, emails automatically sent, people to go into a dashboard automatically. And then that would become a new process. And so every single quarter, I constantly take out a piece of paper. I write down those 5 divisions. I say, what's the current state? What's giving me the most frustration, the biggest problems? What are the processes that I feel are missing inside of this division of business? What's causing me headache, stress, draining me, and not multiplying my energy? And so I'm constantly, it's just writing down and getting it out of your head. And then the column next to it, I'm like, I would love to have an automated onboarding process. I would love someone else to do sales. I would love someone else to post on social media and automatically post my social media pieces of content, or automatically send my emails out, right? If we were talking about marketing in particular. And so if you think about those 5 divisions, the problems that you're having, and then the future processes you need and the future people that you need to run those processes, you can then allocate your time effectively to prioritize what processes you think are most important. And so I always like to start with operations, plain and simple. Operations, then product and delivery, then sales, then finance, then marketing. Marketing last. Most people post, run ads, do funnels into a leaky bucket, and they don't have they don't have their operations and their delivery and all the other stuff. And so they have all these leads, and then they bring in all these clients, and then it's a complete disaster because they don't know where to put the clients or manage the clients. And so once you get that level of process in, James, on the technical level, like if you think about the E-Myth, another great book, there's technicians, there's managers, then there's entrepreneurs. Everybody wants to be the entrepreneur, but they don't want to be the technician and the manager, and they don't even want to go through being a technician and a manager. And so the best place to start, if you're listening, is you got to get in, boots on the ground, in the trenches, do the work, and learn how the processes work. Technician, then you can go up and be a manager over technicians, and then you can eventually have managers over your technicians, and then you can be the entrepreneur with a business that runs itself, right? And it took me years, 5 years, and the last 8 months of my life doing every single thing in the business to now having 18 employees on the internal team actually run the company. So everyone posts my social media, runs my sales calls, onboards clients, manages clients, delivers for clients, tracks all the numbers and everything. Simply because I went in and wrote down or shot Loom videos. Another quick little hack there. And I'll slow down is like I shoot Loom videos for every part of the business, and I have someone else turn it into a SOP or a step-by-step standard operating procedure. So in those 5 divisions of business that I can then give to the technicians, that the managers then can oversee. And so I could be the entrepreneur and talk with James Silvas and all these incredible listeners on this podcast. Thank you so much, guys, for being here with us.
Yeah.
Is like, that's how I think of business.
I love systems. That, dude. It makes it so much more efficient and saves a lot of time and a lot of heartache and a lot of energy, which is most important. Now that, so we have, let's say we have the systems in place. I do want to hear your most highly effective systems that you have personally, like what, and probably in the more of the like morning routine or any routine that helps you get primed and ready for the day. But then once we get that, then I'd like to say, like, go to how do you delegate? Like you have the system now. How do you go about finding someone? What is the best way that you've seen entrepreneurs search for it or train that person to be effective with that system?
Yeah. Great question. Personal systems, life systems, life habits. I'll just take this morning, for example, right? Wake up, green juice, espresso, gym. I was watching the guy that does Grant's Health, 10X Health. I was watching, I forget his name. I did 20 sets, 20 reps in 20 minutes. Simple, just to get moving because I knew I had to get present for this podcast. It was 20. I was done in 20 minutes. I did 20 different freaking exercises and 20 reps. I was squatting, benching, tricep pull down, everything. Then steam room, hot tub, cold plunge, meditation in the steam room, meditation in the hot tub, kind of like habit stacking. I think the more habit stacking, more habits you can stack, the better. And then read 10 pages, briefed myself for this. But I think that obviously drinking a liter of water. I think mind, body, spirit is where you get your power from. That is how you get into the top 1% and be the 1%, is when you work on those 3 core areas and you have enough energy, you're relaxed, you're present, you're more aware to actually produce in your company. If you come in and if you wake up and you go right into your phone, you're all stressed out. We all know listening that's going to set you up for failure for the day. I like getting those quick wins, getting the ball rolling. For me, when I consistently stick with that routine, I have so much energy for the day. I am so ready to rock and roll. I already feel like I've won the day. And like Charlie says, we'll get on a winning streak right from the get-go. And so life systems, kind of the same thing with shutting down the day. I think definitely getting tons of play and fun in as well, whether it's going on walks, getting sunlight, going on hikes, playing golf, having a laugh, journaling, reading, breaking up the day. I always say, once I'm tired with doing something mental, like after I'm done with this, I'm going to go on a walk to the store and get a juice again or smoothie. Like every time, I always flip flop it. If I do something mental, I want to go do something physical. And I want to spend as much time outdoors as possible. Otherwise, I feel like I turn into a computer. And so,
Nice. I like that.
yeah. And so,
Awesome, man. That's great. Thank you for that.
yeah.
So the delegation piece, how do you go about that?
Yeah. So this is set up so well, James. Like once you're clear on the systems that you need, you can then shoot Loom videos, right? Little videos, the Chrome extension, walking people through the system or walking people through how you've onboarded clients or how you've taken sales calls. You can record every single step, right? I like to think of it in three ways, delegation. I do, we do, you do, right? And
Mm.
so real simple. I do it, we do it together. You can watch my video or I can show you live on Loom or on Zoom. And then you do it and you do it one time and you let me know how you did. You send me a message on Slack. For example, if I'm having someone edit a podcast like this, you would do it, right? Or you'd have someone like help you do it. You'd edit it. You would learn the skill. We would do it together. Then someone else would do it and they would bring back a finished product. One, right? Let's say you don't even want to learn podcasting. This is the next level that you want to do, like next level of editing. I would take Steve Jobs' philosophy of delegation, where he goes 10, 80, 10, right? 10, 80, 10. Steve Jobs would come up with the idea, hey, I want to stuff 1,000,000 songs in this little device. Somebody go and build it, right? That's the first 10%. 80% are these technicians building this device, right? They come back with the finished product. He goes up on stage for the last 10%, shows it off, enrolls a bunch of people, collects all the money, and takes all the credibility, right? And so essentially, I would have the idea of, hey, I want someone to edit this podcast. Go ahead. Here's some softwares. Here's some things that I think that could help you. Go and do one podcast episode. I want you to model this podcast, right? Let's take the Joe Rogan experience. Let's say you wanted to model his editing and everything. So you would go and you would have him go and edit it. They'd bring it back. You'd make some tweaks, but they would be creating an SOP during that whole time. I think most entrepreneurs fail when they're delegating the podcast, but then no one's creating a step-by-step procedure. So you can't expand, you can't evolve, you can't have more people doing the same thing. If that person quits and leaves, then you're screwed because now you don't even know how to train anybody new. And so that's kind of the two ways that I end up delegating. I say, hey, I need a client onboarding process. Go and build one, right? This is how I think I want my clients onboarded like this company onboards clients. Go reverse engineer that, right? And then they come back and here comes the steps, right? I come in and tweak a little bit and then there ends up being a finished product that they can go and complete.
And how are you finding them to be able to delegate that?
Like the team members, the talent
Right,
itself.
exactly.
Yeah, freaking made it my life's mission to recruit and train talent because I was having a tough time. I've hired probably over 120 people in the last 5 years, and not all of them were great. And I've fired quite a handful of people as well. And I learned a lot, and I really learned that 94% of my business failures and mess ups and stuff comes because I have poor processes, not because I have poor people. I really do believe that most people, if you have the right character traits, they have good values, they're energized to work with you, they're inspired to work with you, they're behind your vision, they have the same values as your company or want to at least behave in a way of the values of the company. I think that you could train almost anybody on a process. And I think that the money, the time, the energy is all saved and made inside of process creation and then people, right? In some cases, you're going to have some bad eggs, some people that are just not cut out. But that's when I give them a second shot. I give them 4 or 5 shots. That's when feedback comes into play, where I'm literally like, hey, I know you're doing your best. Here's where we could do better, right? Writing them personal notes so that they can grow. Once you find that right person, you could go to my company to find the right person. You can go on Fiverr, you can go on online jobs, you can go to Upwork, you can go to any of these hiring platforms, you can go to FreeUp, you can go to LinkedIn. I built a whole system so I don't need to constantly do that. And so, yeah, I mean, we can go into hiring and recruiting all day, but most importantly, when I'm thinking of delegation, one, I'm looking for the systems. Two, and this is kind of the last piece on it, is write down everything you're doing every single day this week, from the day you listen to this podcast to the end of the week, even if it's 2 days, 5 days, whatever. Write down all the tasks you're doing. I sent an email to this client. I onboarded this client. I took this sales call. I posted on social media. I wrote a caption. It'd be really great so that you can become the observer, like you were saying, James, of what are you actually doing on a day-to-day basis. One, it's going to show you that you're doing $10 an hour tasks. And two, it's going to show you that you have an inflated ego, maybe like myself, and you're not as productive as you think you are. And you're actually not getting that much stuff done. That's kind of a harsh reality, but accept the reality and move on. And three, it's going to show you what you can delegate. I delegate anything from $10 an hour tasks to $1,000 an hour tasks, right? Because if I value my time worth $1,000 an hour, then I want to be delegating anything underneath that, right? Literally anything. And so if I were you and I was listening to it, I would write down everything, and I do this all the time. Write down all the things that I'm doing, highlight in yellow the things that you want to delegate, highlight the things in green that you want to keep doing. This way, every single week, you can move closer to being inside of your zone of genius. Every single week, you can get out of your zone of competence, even you can get into your zone of genius. You can delegate the things that frustrate you, that drain your energy, that don't fuel you, that you could pay someone $10 an hour to do.
Yeah.
And there's several of those tasks.
What do you say to the person that says, "Oh, Brian, that sounds nice, but I don't have the budget to be paying all these people to delegate these processes to"? What would you come back with when they say that?
I mean, the harsh reality is then you don't have a business, you have a job, right? And you may have a nice job and you're a one-man show, and that's great. I know a woman that I think she makes 7 figures a year. She's one of my friends. It's just her and one virtual assistant, right? She doesn't have a huge team, and she brought on that virtual assistant once she crossed like the $5,000 a month mark. And so if you want to get out of having a high paying job and you want to be able to take the 2-week vacation, then I would focus on, how do I create a valuable enough offer for the marketplace so that I can go and enroll X amount of people to create a treasure chest that I can then go and build my team with? Because this is exactly what I did, right? You create tens and tens of thousands of dollars of revenue, or even 10,000 or even 5,000, right? You don't need a lot of money to get started with hiring a virtual assistant in particular, or even someone that, is inspired to work for you. And it's like something that they will sacrifice a little bit of pay, maybe for equity or something. But you need about $1,500 a month. And I think that for most people listening is one sale, right? And so if you can enroll one more person, you can get a team member. Then you just got to be comfortable with departing from that cash. Most people, once they make the $1,500, want to protect it with their whole life. They're like, I got $1,500. For me, I want to get that $1,500 out of my hands and into my team and into my company as fast as possible, so I can expand and have more people doing more things that I don't want to do. And yes, my business is definitely people and process intensive. And I hope that answers the question. It's getting resourceful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great, man. It's great feedback. I love the specific number that you said, on average, like $1,500 a month. Like we're not talking tens of thousands of dollars a month. I think that's where a lot of us get caught up. It's like we have these grand ideas of what the team is that we would like to build, and maybe we start too far ahead rather than simplifying and just going one step at a time. So I really like that. And if you need a virtual assistant, hit up Brian.
Yeah. And that first person that you'd want to hire, especially if you're around, if you're listening to this podcast, is that operations business manager type person. And you could get a really good one for $1,500 a month, where they could take so much stuff off your plate that then frees you up to make more sales, to generate more revenue. I think hiring team members is the best decision. Like literally, objectively. Yeah.
Yes.
Don't do it alone. Really. Like, I used to lone wolf it. I used to think that, even up until recently, James, that I could not be supported, that other people weren't capable of supporting me, because it ties back to what I started at the beginning of the conversation with, having to support my family and my dad, right? If my parents can't support me, how the F does other people can support me? And I had to break through that, right? And so if you're like myself in any way, Don't lone wolf it. You're definitely capable of being supported. You're worthy of having the support. You're worthy of having that support. You actually deserve that support. And yeah, don't do it alone. Absolutely not. You'll burn out. You'll break down. You'll be all stressed out.
Yeah, love that. Yeah. And so moving on to feedback, I know how much you love this part of things, and systems. Yes, delegate. Yes. Now it's coming to the part of, are we making progress? Is this person getting better? Are we getting closer to our goals? How do you think about feedback, and how do you go about either searching for it for yourself? How do you go about giving it in the most effective way to the individual? And just walk us through some of those aspects.
Yeah, absolutely. So feedback creates the future. Feedback fuels the future. It fuels every single step of my life. I think everything can be a feedback loop. Feedback is just, in a way, it's kind of cause and effect, or it's action and response. And it's just, I eat a donut every single day. The feedback is going to be that I get chubby over time, right? And so I'm looking at clarity. I'm looking at reports right now to get the feedback. But when I first was looking at this, I think that feedback is ultimately the highest form of love, right? When you're talking with employees, or even if it's just you and I, James, because when I found out that I was lone wolfing it, that I was disconnected, someone gave me that feedback. I mean, how great would that be for someone to give me the feedback of what's in my blind spot? If I'm growth minded and open minded like I am, I want James telling me, hey, dude, my experience of you right now is you're a bulldozer. You're not owning your fullest power. You're not being in integrity with your word. You're not being committed, right? And I would want feedback of things that also do give me that form of praise and power. But I think there's an equal balance, and I think that a lot of communication in business and in life it breaks down because people are almost either afraid to say the truth and be radically honest and radically responsible. And sometimes, even if they say the truth, it comes out weird, or it's the wrong time, or it's in the wrong context. And I think that feedback in the company is, everybody knows in my business that I have permission to give feedback, and everybody has permission to give feedback to each other. It's an agreement that we've all made. It's a contract that we've all made. That feedback is because I love you and I want you to do better. And I know that we could do better. And that is how we do it. So everybody drops their defense mechanisms. Oh, he's attacking me. Four laws, right? Don't take it personally, right? So feedback in the workplace is important for culture. Everyone needs to be okay with, I get feedback. I get feedback all the time, and I own the company, of how I could do better. And I love it because I'm like, give me the feedback, because I'm not going to get defensive, because I know that's the fastest way for me to grow is to get as much feedback as humanly possible. And that's from whether we're hitting our numbers or not, whether people are happy or not, or productive or not. That's all giving me feedback on how I'm actually leading. And so you got to be careful, though, because I see a lot of, you got to be careful.
Ask that.
You got to be careful, because I see a lot of leaders. I don't see a lot. I care about having a culture that multiplies the energy at the table and doesn't drain the energy. If I jumped on a Zoom and we worked together, James, and I said, dude, what's going on? Like, are you kidding me? Like, why haven't you done this? Like, if I say any of those style things, if I have that body language, that tonality, that is going to crush the other person. How would you feel if someone like said that to you, right? You'd feel demotivated. You'd feel uninspired. And it goes back to like the Harvard study when they did it on feedback in the workplace, where it's literally, you say one negative thing to somebody, it takes 10 positive things to rebound that one negative thing that you said. And so if I say, James, come on, what are you doing? You're not working hard enough. You're not doing a good job. I'd have to say 10 things to you to say, dude, you're doing a great job. You're doing amazing. You're doing great. And it just doesn't work out. So you got to check your energy for the day. If you're freaking anxious or stressed out or frustrated, shut off the computer and go reset, because your energy bleeds into the company as a leader, period. If you are not tuned in, and if your intention is to be stressing other people out or checking in on everybody 24/7, you have a lack of trust. And you have to find out where that lack of trust started, somewhere in your probably early childhood or teenage years, right? And so you got to go and heal that trauma of the lack of trust that you have, because that's then going to show up with your employees of why you're not trusting them to do something as simple as freaking edit a social media post.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I trust my team so much, I do not even care what they post. I told them, here's the direction. I'm like, this is the direction that we're going. Go for it. I go check the Instagram. I'm like, I love this. Great job. Right. And we have a whole channel inside of our Slack where there's probably 30 wins that are posted every single day. Just a feedback arc of wins and love and fun and gifts and all that stuff. Because it's really what we're talking about is culture. Like, it's how inside of your culture do you give feedback?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important. It's really, really, really key.
Oh man, I love that. So good.
Yeah.
Thank you for enlightening us on how you do things, how you think. Love that Harvard study. I think I heard a similar one with MIT when you're raising a child. This is super relevant for me now being father. What is it? I'm paraphrasing it. It was like something by the time the child is 2, they will have heard no, like 2,000 to 1,
Yeah.
some crazy thing like that. So there was that piece that stood out to me. And then also like the counteraction of like 1 no is the equivalent of 17 yeses.
Yeah.
It's just wild, man. And that's
And
just how we think.
on that, it's like, last thing here is most employees, something that I root out of the culture is you cannot be fired here, right? I'm not going to fire you. I'm not going to reprimand you. Like, because going back to the childhood, reprimanded,
Mm-hmm.
the things that the no's that we got brought up on, I want to root out of the culture as much as possible, right? Because I don't want a culture of fear, right? I don't want people thinking, oh shit, I can't go and share this with whoever I'm supposed to share this with. Because, to be honest, that's the best information I can get is that kind of information. Because then I can clean that up. I can hold space for it. We can plug the hole in the leaky bucket, essentially. And so I root out the feeling of being fired. Meaning, if you just do your job description and you follow these particular systems and policies, and you're doing your absolute best, we want to train and coach you. We do not want to fire you. If you're that dedicated and you're following all of this stuff and you're showing up every single day and you're following what we have in place, heck, I'll give you feedback and train you all day long. I will not fire you if you're that loyal and dedicated. And my whole company knows that. I speak to them just like this. Just, hey, listen, never going to get fired if you do this, this, and this. If you show up every single day and show love and do the best you possibly can every single day, because that's all I can ask from everybody. That's all I could ask for myself, because I make mistakes,
Right.
So
that's amazing. What's been a big mindset shift that you've had recently, let's say in the last 90 days, that has allowed you to be a better leader?
Yeah, 100% that I'm capable of being supported. I did not think I was capable of being supported. Even someone that's building a team, I would feel like I have to do everything myself, and that it was all on my back. And I got such a beautiful, refreshing experience when my team brought to me all of the plans and said, hey, Brian, we got this. And so there's layers then of trust as well, of trusting others, because I think of all the times where I just haven't, sometimes people don't actually, sometimes I love to trust, essentially. At the end of the day, I trust everybody until they do me wrong. And I've had other people in the past do things wrong in business and in life. And so that obviously depletes your trust account with yourself. And then that freaking shows up in your business. And so the two things is I'm capable of being supported, I'm worthy of being supported, and my team's got my back. And and that I can absolutely trust them has been huge, huge for me.
What are some of your favorite questions that you have in your process or that you like to ask personally to the people that you look to bring on your team?
Okay. So we do simulations, like 2 simulations. So it's very, very technical. And we love to see energy, positive mindset, open-minded, able to see receive feedback, and then align with our company values. And particularly, I like to see everybody work out mind, body, spirit every single day. That's literally one of our values is MBS, is every single day doing something to take care of yourself, because I love to prioritize health and well-being more than anything else in the company. I do not want people staying up and working 24 hours and 16 hours and 12 hours. I want people doing effective and efficient work and being in flow state. I really could care less when people work as long as they're hitting their priorities. And so I prioritize, their well-being.
So on that real quick, I know you mentioned, working at the age of 12 and having this deep sense of ambition and wanting to move forward and be active and continuing to further the mission or to just do the work. Have you found that at any stage of your leadership experience that you've projected that similar mindset onto others and asked unfair requests because you assumed that they believed what you believed? And then if that is true, how did you, one, become aware that you were doing that, and what did you do to remedy that?
Definitely was definitely that was the thing. Basically, tying back to the being capable of being supported, is I so hungry, so ambitious, such a hustler. I would work just twice or 3 times as hard as anybody else.
Right. I think that's natural in an achiever culture, and someone who's listening to the podcast that's really goal oriented, that's like hungry. Like they like it, maybe to a detrimental effect. And 2 is just kind of all they know.
Yeah, definitely an achiever at heart. And I started to just lead by example and ask questions and set better boundaries. Those were the kind of the outcomes that I got from, all of the deep work that we've done. I've had personal coaches, mindset coaches, performance coaches, plant medicine, books, journaling, meditation. I'm a firm believer that your business is basically a representation of your internal world. And so I had to see, okay, why are people shying away from working so hard? Or why isn't the business making as much money? Or why am I doing everything? And it was always because, hey, I'm not capable of being supported. Hey, I'm not worthy. Hey, I can't trust this person. And those were the things. And then it ended up me being the one that does all of the work. And so I particularly worked on getting out of my own way. And I think that knowing yourself is like the last piece of this. You must know yourself and what's holding you back. And so you got to have someone be a reflection, be your mirror, and give you that feedback of, hey, this is what's in your blind spot. Because had I never known that me not being capable of being supported was in my blind spot, literally, if I didn't discover that 60 days ago, 2 weeks ago, when my team brought me these plans, I would have shut it down. And I almost did shut it down. At the very beginning, I was like, whoa, what's going on? And I was like, whoa, Brian, this is you acting out another pattern and behavior that's not you anymore, that you're evolving out of, and you're capable of being supported. Let's see the team. They got this. Trust them. And it's like, whoa, feel a sense of relief.
That's awesome. Cool. As we wind down here, one last question before I pass over to you to share where people can find you. I know you talk a lot about coaches and obviously you're doing a lot of coaching in your own business. What is it that what led you to want to coach? And then how did you go about finding the coach that you felt would be best for you and where you wanted to go?
Yeah. What led me to want to coach is basically 2 things. 2 things in a vision. One, my dad getting sad and depressed, bankrupt, never wanted to see someone close to me sad and depressed. I was not armed with the tools to help the man at that young age, first off. Sure. I really wanted to learn that. 2 was the guys that or in network marketing that were doing well, that were telling me to read these personal development books. And I didn't ever really want to become a coach. I wanted to be someone that had the tools and someone that did the work on themselves so I can actually help others. Because I think that self-development is the best act of service that you can do for the world and humanity. And so the more self-developed and self-aware I am, the more capable I am, the more able I am to help other people expand their capacity, their own awareness, so that we can rise and build a new earth. And so other people can rise out of scarcity and into abundance. And so I did this work because I see the vision for the world is to be a world builder. It's to see people creatively express themselves. It's to have love and everybody love each other, and to have freedom and financial prosperity. These are the things that I genuinely love and want for every single person. And so I could focus on myself, right, James? It's like change yourself, change your family, change your community, change your state, change your world, right? You keep going out and out. And so I'm taking ownership and radical responsibility for uncovering the things that are holding me back in my next level. And part of my mission and why is obviously to help other people do the same. And so coaching is just a byproduct of someone that I just love research. I love learning more of myself. And I love sharing that with others so that they can level up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome, brother. Thank you so much for your time, for your perspective, for who you are as a person, as a leader. And thank you for embodying what you speak about. You know, knowing Thanks. You for the last couple of years, every time I see you and interact with you and connect with you, I always get the same vibe, and it's consistency. So I love that. Thanks. I seek that out. Where's the best place for people to interact with you and get involved with what you're doing or support you in any way?
Yeah. So on Instagram, Brian Donovan with 200 underscores, or virtualassistance.io. But Instagram's definitely the place. And James, just want to thank you, brother. Likewise, the reflection you just gave me of consistency, you have been the most consistent of characteristics and characters and morals and values and mindset for the last, since I've met you. So I'm grateful for your presence, your leadership, your fatherhood, your brotherhood. And I appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Respect, brother. All right, everybody, go out there, be your own 1% and implement what you learned here today. Much love.